What's going on? You're locked in with the Innovators YouTube. You already know I got the best interviews right here, man. I got my guy. Where's Aaron in the studio? What's popping, bro?
Hello. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man.
Nice to see you, too. How's everything going for you today?
Dude, good, man. Life's good. Just put the album out. It just went live 12 a.m. last night.
Yeah.
Excited.
First, I want to say it's a pleasure and a blessing to have you here. I appreciate you coming through today.
Yes, sir, bro. Thanks for having me.
Just to start off, let the people know where you're from, where they can find you on social media.
Where's Aaron, bro? I'm in Los Angeles right now, from San Francisco, born and raised. Find me on all the streaming services under Where's Aaron. And follow my personal Instagram at the infamous Gallagher. There's also another one that's Where's Aaron.
Yeah. How did you grow up? Was your parents around? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, bro. Happy household. I came from a pretty affluent neighborhood in Pacific Heights in San Francisco. Both my parents are around, but, they both worked a lot, which I think is sort of par for the course growing up in that area.
Yeah.
Sort of raised by nannies a little bit.
Yeah.
Which was actually really cool. I
Yeah.
got sort of an introduction to a bunch of different cultures and just different types of people and stuff that way.
Yeah. No, I rock with that.
Yeah.
How would you describe growing up in San Francisco?
Crazy, dude. Man, I remember when I went to college, the first week, everybody was turning up and dropping like flies, dude. I think we had the first freshman party and 8 people went to the hospital, and I was just looking around and I was like,
where'd you go?
Occidental College.
Gotcha.
Yes, shout out Obama.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, you guys are weak, because in San Francisco, it was just we grew up partying since we were 15, 16, and going pretty hard,
No, I already know. I think it's kind of like Bay culture in general. I had a fake ID at 15, so
yeah. And you're from Berkeley, right?
Richmond.
Richmond.
Yeah, but I did go to Berkeley High though, so that means we was partying a lot too.
Yeah.
So how did you get into music, and what was the introduction to even music being in your life and wanting to pursue it?
Yeah, totally. I didn't grow up with a musical family. I came from a finance family. And so it was always a little bit foreign to me. And my 2 best friends growing up were super into rock and roll. One of my best friend's dad is a rock star. His name's Joe Satriani. And so they were always super into hard rock. And I would sort of try to, get along with it. And when we had our little band, I would play tambourine in the back and sort of try to be a part of it, but I was never really into it. And then I remember 6th grade or something, when phones were starting to get a little better. I remember I had a BlackBerry and LimeWire was out, and I downloaded
bringing it back for me.
Yes, sir, bro. And then I downloaded one of those files that probably gave my computer AIDS, and it had a bunch of new hip hop on it. And I put that on my BlackBerry, and I went out skateboarding with ZZ, my friend, and Joe's son, Joe Satriani's son. And then I was coming back from skating, and I was riding the bus, and I had my headphones in, and one of those songs came on, and it was Army of the Pharaohs, The Torture Papers. And it was that's a rap group from Vinny Paz, the dude who headed Jedi Mind Tricks.
Yeah.
And they're on some really East Coast lyrical shit. And one of the verses that came on just was so intricate and just blew my head open. It was like, molecules dissolve, I pass through walls, solidify on the other side, grab my balls. I'm the flip bricks bigger than Egyptians, dragged across sand to expand my shipment, shapes are shifting, lifting more weight than pistons, Attila the Hun with a gun, keep your distance. And I was like, and my head just sort of blew open right then. And after that, I just sort of I was rap. I was like, that's my music. I was like, hard rock, dude.
Yeah.
And I just got really, really into it, really obsessed with it. And I wasn't until a few years later where I decided, I was like, damn, this is some shit I want to actually pursue. And and try doing. I think there's always, there's that gap between like inspiration and like, enjoying something and then actually trying to be a part of it or trying to do it.
Coming from a family that's more into finance, like, what was the reaction from them with you wanting to pursue music, knowing that isn't something typically that your family has been interested in?
No, it's a good question. We should call him up right now. My mom would be furious that I'm here right now instead of working on some real estate or something. Yeah. It wasn't, it's never really been supported from my parents, and they never really understood it. It's been like some friction between our relationship and stuff, but I've never really faulted them because you can't get mad at someone for not understanding, I guess. So
yeah. Does it bother you, or do you feel like it's something you focus on, or you just kind of it just kind of is what it is for you?
I think it bothered me a lot more when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I sort of fell back on like hobo logic, because when I was young, I'd be like, this is what I want to do. My parents would be like, you can't do that. It's like, it's not a feasible career path. And I would just be like, well, I think to myself, well, am I going to die if I do it? Like, am I going to die if I pursue it? And the answer was always like, no. So just do it,
Yeah.
But, I think as I've gotten older, I think there's validity to it. And I see that, at the end of the day, my parents just want what's best for me.
Of course.
And they just don't see that pathway as feasible. But in my mind, it was like, well, if X, Y, and Z, if, whoever has done it before and they've had success with it, then why can't I do it?
Nah, for sure. I mean, there's countless examples of it being successful. I'm not saying that everybody becomes, and what I think something that I've realized it also is that what success equates to is definitely on a case-by-case basis. Yeah. You feel me? My version of success might be different from your version of success, so anybody can be successful. It just determines on what level of success they're trying to reach, No,
that's a good point. I mean, I would say, like, I don't consider myself to be, like, a successful artist at this point. But, I just put this album out that came out yesterday, Caution Tape, and it's, like, one of my first bodies of work that I'm, like, genuinely proud of, genuinely excited about. It took me a really long time to get there. And because of that, I'm proud of it, and I consider myself successful, personally because of that.
Yeah. I want to get into the project. First, I want to talk about the cover art. You're wrapped in Caution Tape.
Yes, sir.
It definitely caught my eye from the jump.
Cool.
What was like the thought process in the cover art and wrap yourself in Caution Tape? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah. So I sort of came up with this little story arc for my albums a while ago, probably like 10 years ago, when I was still going by Airborne. I had a car that was a Cadillac DeVille. I don't know how I got stuck with that car, but it was actually my dream car. And actually, I do know how I got stuck with that car. When I was like a sophomore in high school, my friend Zizi and I, again, went to an Atmosphere concert when we were sophomores on 420.
Yeah.
And we got so fucking
I'm like,
big.
sure it was turned.
So turned. And I was just so fucking lit that, like, I remember I literally couldn't pick my head up off the table, off the coffee table.
Yeah.
And I was just going like this. And so the next day, I was so washed, I couldn't wake up in the morning for school. And I remember I had like a math test or something. So finally, I got up out of bed. It was like 10 o'clock. And, obviously my parents didn't wake up because they were, absent doing their thing. And I drove hella fast to school, and I came around this corner, and somebody was, emergency parked. And I just came barreling into them and crashed my mom's like 7 Series Beamer.
Damn.
And totaled it. And then you know, my dad was like, whoa, you still have to have a car to get to school. Like, I'm not taking your ass. So they just got me a junker. And it happened to be like this $2,000 burgundy Cadillac DeVille.
Yeah.
Like burgundy on the outside and the inside. And it was just hilarious. I just felt like such a pimp. And it was a punishment, I guess, or like, you know. And, but really, I was just stoked to have that car.
Yeah.
And then we were driving around that shit in college. And my friends and I, we would all hotbox it like every single day. And so we started calling it the Fog Machine. And then when I was in college still, I released a tape called the Fog Machine Chronicles. And it was, you know, sort of like, you know, just inspired by the degenerate activities in the Fog Machine in that Cadillac. And then after that, I sort of came up with this concept of like making music like that. I listened to a lot of my music in the car, and so I was thinking like making albums that sort of that reflect the trajectory of a car breaking down as a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
And so the first one was Fog Machine Chronicles. The second one was called Maintenance Required. The third one was going to be Unresponsive, and I just sort of skipped that one because I wanted to get some newer music. And so that's why this one's called Caution Tape. And then it was also supposed to be a little bit like, you know, this is the last warning. Like, I'm not fucking around. Here's this tape. You get one more time as a listener, as a fan, as a friend to get on board with this shit. And if you don't, you're going to miss the boat.
Yeah. No, I rock with that. As far as like the process of recording it, well, what was that like? You said it took you a while to put it to like for the release and everything. So like, was it the writing process? What was it that was?
I really wanted to wait for Women's History Month to drop it. You know, just to give them a nice jab. No, I'm kidding. The writing process, you know, I've done every type of writing process and recording process, from like recording in a home studio and, you know, putting styrofoam on a closet with one of those shitty like Apple Snowball microphones, saving up money, going to the studio. It's funny because on Caution Tape, there's actually a range of recording styles and quality. Like, I went into a really, really nice studio for Poppin' Still.
Yeah, I like that record for sure.
Yeah, and the boys at PYC at Perfect Your Craft. Mm-hmm. Shout out DTB and Cuddy Joe and Benji. They helped me record that one, and it sounds perfect. Really, really high quality recording. But then, you know, a couple tracks later, I've got I think it was My Song and Better Off. I recorded both of those, I think, on an Xbox headset.
What?
Yeah. And like, they turned out pretty fire.
How is that possible?
I mean, bro, I have
explain that one to me.
I'm not the first person to do that either. I've heard Nav's done that.
I'm confused though. Like,
dude, it's just like I think what the most important thing for the recording process is like eliminating friction between getting it out in like that moment of inspiration. And so like, you can spend a lot of time writing something and then memorizing it and then going into the studio and it'll turn out fire. But if you just write something down and then you go into the studio and you're reading the bars off of your phone while you're recording, there's going to be like this little lag time basically between when you're reading it and how you're reciting it and expressing it. And there's like that little bit of friction. And so I think a good way to eliminate that is just recording something right when it comes to your mind. And then the funny thing also that's really cool about the headset is one of the things you have to worry about when you're recording in a studio, if it's not like the highest quality microphone, you have to worry about your distance from the microphone, you know, and making sure every bar is like pretty similar in volume. And obviously if you do some gain staging afterwards, like you can amend that and fix that. But the cool thing about having a headset on is that microphone stays the same distance in front of your mouth. And so you can like move around and really get into it. So yeah, I've experimented with all sorts of different types of recording, and you know, I think they're all good. They all have their positives and negatives. Sometimes it's really good to get into a studio with other people and like perform. You know what I mean? And perform for the people in the studio.
Yeah.
It gives you put some hair on your chest or whatever. And like then other times it's really nice to like record a song by yourself in your room with a headset on and just like get into it and just have a little private moment with yourself.
Yeah, not for sure. What's your favorite song on the project? If you had to choose.
Poppin' Still is one of my favorite, and Poppin' Still is like one of my favorite songs I've ever written. A lot of times back when I was like still trying to perfect my craft, I would like write a song and it would be good, but I wouldn't put it out because I would be worried about the next one wouldn't be
as good
or good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Poppin' Still was one of those ones where I recorded a while ago and I was like, damn, I love this record, but I couldn't get back up to that quality for a little while, and it took me a while to get up to that level again. And then I feel like I was starting to make stuff of that consistent quality, but it still ended up being my favorite record.
Yeah,
like that one and like Better Off.
Yeah, I actually like Better Off too. What was the mindset for that record when you were creating it?
It's very hyperbolic and like tongue in cheek. You know, the chorus is like, I think I'd be better off if I was by myself. And that's sort of just like reflecting that, the hard times you have with other people and thinking like friends are a distraction, your girl is a distraction, or blah, blah, but at the end of the day, they're not. At the end of the day, those are the things that keep you going.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for my girl, bro, I wouldn't be here, literally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's tongue in cheek, and it's having fun with that contradiction.
Who did production on the project?
I think most of those beats, except for the intermission, are grabbed online from just various producers. That last track, No More Messages, is from my homie Old Soul. He's got a studio in Los Angeles called Left Method. And Christo helped me a little bit with the Aaron piano intermission. I played the piano, and then I sent that to him, and he did some of the like background sounds and glued the whole thing together. But the rest of the beats are just from mostly just from internet people, Yeah. One of them, there's one, Scrubs, which sampled No Scrubs, is from Cuddy Joe from Perfect Your Craft, and I don't know if I'm gonna get a lawsuit for that song later, since I definitely didn't like clear any samples or anything like that. Yeah. But I think as an upcoming artist,
it might not. If it blows up, you might have.
It blows up. It's like I hope I get sued. Like
that's a good promotion.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign. It means things are going well. It means the song's doing well. But going back to like the production aspect, I used to like get production and stuff from people in person, which is great, and I think people should build those relationships with producers, especially in the age of the internet when everything is online. But sometimes for convenience, it's like a lot of times when I want to make a song or I want to rap, like it's in that moment I want to do that thing, so I just look for a beat online or on BeatStars that sort of inspires me or scratches that itch, and then I just get to writing.
Nah, I rock with that for sure. Tell me, like, what are some of the pros and cons you've experienced with your music journey to this point so far?
Man, I've sort of seen the musical journey as like a journey of self-actualization, and I think rapping and like doing this thing is really one of the hardest things you can do, and like trying to be an artist is one of the hardest things you can do. And I guess in that perspective, I saw it as like one of the most noble pursuits. So I get a lot of self-satisfaction from that, and from going from a place where like I used to make music, I used to be obsessed with this shit, and I used to hate all my stuff. It just like I didn't think it was good. It wasn't good in my opinion. Like objectively, it just wasn't that good. But like that's how things start out. And then that's how mastery works. It's like you see something, you like something, but you aren't capable of actually producing that thing. And then eventually that gap closes and it gets smaller and smaller until your vision matches your execution. And getting to that place has been one of the most satisfying journeys of my life. The negatives are all the shit that you have to face along that journey. Like I've had to do tons of shit that I don't want to do and couldn't recommend for anybody else, whether it was like hustling as a kid and like putting myself in precarious situations, to losing friends and shit, and like over music shit, and over just like friction in relationships caused by it and stuff.
Have you had moments where you maybe just was like, fuck this, I don't really want to do the music anymore? And
yes, bro, all the time, man.
How do you...
And I still have them. But.
How do you battle through that, though? I think that's I would say I haven't really had those moments with interviewing per se, but
yeah,
definitely, of course, I've had those moments in my life with various other things. But like, how do you battle back through that?
Well, I was sort of saying it was like the journey of self-actualization, and it's like I want to be a person who isn't bogged down by my negative thoughts. So the more that I pursue this, and the more I get into a place where I'm not thinking about the negative stuff, the easier it becomes to pursue. And yeah, I think you can't give the small voice in your head too much time a day, basically.
Nah, I agree with you on that. And intrusive thoughts can be a bitch for sure.
Yeah, and that's all, and that's all they are. The more you entertain them, the more power you give them. So, you just can't think about it too much. And it's like, I think also like with the self-actualization thing, I've always wanted to be in the moment, and like that's a high ideal. And I think music is a good route for that. And like the more you express yourself musically and have fun with it, the more you get into the moment. And the more you're in the moment, the less those intrusive thoughts, impede you.
Yeah. Outside of music, what is it that you like to do?
Oh, man. I have a lot of hobbies. I love skateboarding. I love anime, manga, audiobooks, basically like anything where I can like consume a story, cinema, reading, playing video games. Although sometimes I feel like I like thinking about playing video games or like watching other people play video games more than I actually like playing video games, because it feels like a lot of times, like in the past I'd put a bunch of hours in, and then afterwards I'd get up from it or like rage quit on Destiny 2 and be like, what the fuck did I just do? Like, what did I just spend my time doing? Because of that, actually, I've been playing a lot of chess lately. Like,
how has that been? I haven't played chess in a while.
Yeah, dude, chess.com is lit. And it's just like, it kind of, my OG put me on it, and it kind of tickles that itch of like, or scratches that itch of wanting to game and like wanting to compete a little bit. But then after you're done, it feels like you don't have that negative time suck feeling, because it's not like a video game where, in a year or two, that video game is going to be done and the servers are going to be dead or something like that. It's like chess has been around for fucking thousands of years. It's not going anywhere. So like you can put hours in and then step away from it and then go back to it. And it feels like it's like a bit of a mind game. So it feels like productive and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of that lately, and I got a dog. I got a puppy, like he's a year old.
Yeah, I've actually seen your dog before.
Yeah, she's the best. But that has been taking up a lot of my time. And then this year, I got a real estate job.
Okay.
That I'm sort of taking a break from while I produce this or like promote this music and shit. I don't know if I'm gonna go back to it, but yeah, that's how I've been spending my time.
How has it been, you know, like pursuing music and also still having like a actual job? Has that, like, what's the balance like with that?
It's tough, dude. I mean, I think that's why I'm taking a step away from it right now, because the balance is really tough. I think it's a lot easier to like do a part-time thing or something like that. And then on the other hand, it's like if you want to be an artist, like, yeah, you got to make money and you got to support that stuff. But like, I also have seen a lot of rappers and artists who are like, mind if I just put this up a little bit? I've seen a lot of artists release stuff, you know, they're hustlers and they make a bunch of money and they got the look and, you know, they can push their music and stuff, but then the music is ass. And it's like, you clearly spent a lot of time getting money, but you didn't spend a lot of time on your bars.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfortunate too. So it's a weird balance you got to strike, because if you want to be an artist, you got to get your skills up and you got to make something that you're proud of.
Not for sure. You're definitely right about that. As far as like, what can the people expect next? Videos coming.
Yes, sir.
What's the plans like after you just dropped the project that's out now, all streaming platforms? Caution tape.
Yes.
What can the people expect next from you?
Yeah, tons of videos. I think I want to do a video for almost every song on the album. I wish I had like the budget and the resources and the team around me to have everything lined up perfectly beforehand for the release. But to be honest, I just don't have that at the moment. I would love to have that. So if you know how to do that kind of shit and you want to be part of the team, let me know. Yeah, I'm just I'm planning on doing a little local tour. I want to do a couple shows in San Francisco, a couple in Los Angeles. I want to get up to like Nevada City, up north.
Yeah.
Do a couple shows there. Put out some music videos, and then probably just try to raise some funds for the next couple projects, which I have pretty much finished. I've got like a whole ass catalog of stuff. When COVID happened, I had already moved down to Los Angeles, and I was already about knee deep in like starting to pursue this stuff really seriously. And mind you, I had been pursuing it since I was like 15, but that was when I like gave myself the time, like I'm gonna move down to LA, like quit my job and just like really focus on this. And then COVID happened, and I was like, well, I'm already living this lifestyle. It doesn't really affect me that much. Like I already stay indoors 24/7 to make music, so I'm just gonna do that harder. And that's what I did. And I just like, I think for like a year and a half, 2 years, like I made a song every week. And now I just have a boatload of material to release.
That's definitely a good position to be in. We are not. You have a lot of music and content built up for sure. I think that's one thing that's kept me in a solid position over the years. I always have an interview to do.
Yeah.
You know, I always have an interview to release. I think that just keeps. You always want to keep the fans entertained. So, yeah.
And what's that like? How did you get into interviewing?
I worked in radio prior, and when I got into radio, I interned in radio. Then I worked in radio prior to starting interviewing. I really started doing sports talk first, and then from there, at my radio station I was working at, they pretty much was just like, you can do whatever you want to do here as far as content or whatever. And one of my homies really wanted me to interview him. I didn't even really want to do it, but he kept pushing me to do it, and I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna try it. And then when I tried it, I liked it, and then I started utilizing my connections. And
did you like interviewing artists more than athletes or something?
I think overall I started to realize that it was harder to get athletes to come, especially ones that are playing currently, you know.
And athletes are boring, bro, compared to artists.
Artists, yeah. it just depends on the person. Like, I feel like I was getting a lot of like old athletes that weren't like playing at currently. Now, if you get somebody like Draymond Green to come on right now, like,
that would be sick.
You feel me?
Hell
but
yeah.
like, if you get
Draymond, come do an interview, bro.
If you get somebody like after they play, 5 years after they played, and just don't hit the same anymore. Let's just like Shaq or Charles
Yeah.
Barkley, somebody that's like a legend, Magic Johnson,
Yeah.
like, you know. But
You fuck with the Dubs?
I do.
Course,
Yeah, but yeah, like it's just something, you know. I started as like an idea. I told my cousin. I remember I telling him, I was like, I think this could be something. He was like, I think so too. And then now to see years later, you know, what it's turned into. But
It's dope that you're
it's
given a
definitely,
platform.
yeah, it's been a dope experience. As it's ups and downs, like with anything. Of course, even like now, I hurt my leg, so it's kind of, I might be out for a little while. But you know, I think it's something I love, and I feel like I haven't had this type of love for something since football. So it's a good feeling. What is something that most people don't know about you?
That I am in chronic pain all the time. And, you know, I think people see me from the outside and think that I don't have any problems, and that I'm all smiles and easygoing. But I got so many fucking injuries from skateboarding and playing sports, and like surgeries when I was a kid. I had like a double hernia.
Damn.
And so a lot of times I'm just like in chronic pain.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all good.
If you could relive your life, is there anything you would change?
There's a couple girls I would smash that I passed on. But other than that, not really.
I'm sure we all have that feeling for sure. Nah, I like that. When you're recording and you're trying to get into your vibe in the studio, is there anything you need specifically?
Pot. Yeah. I was actually in the studio like a few weeks ago, and I tried the first half of the studio just like dead sober, and it just was not coming out very well. And so, you know, we lit up and it all went smooth, and then the song came out great.
Yeah.
But I think like you have to be a little careful with the stuff. Like I think not with weed, but like I've used, you know, every other drug there is, pretty much, to like get into a creative space, and then sometimes, you know, you find yourself relying on that stuff.
No, that's definitely understandable. What would you say is it that inspires you just on a daily basis?
Man, that's a good question. I think I take a lot of my like inspiration and ethos from anime. Like growing up watching like Naruto, and like I didn't, you know, I didn't really go to church, and instead of going to church, my brother and I would watch Dragon Ball Z every weekend, and sort of that like mindset of just like keep going no matter what and never giving up. I think that's some of the shit that inspires me. But then also just like a lot of different artists. I love rap, and like there's so many dope artists that I'm inspired by. And also like a lot of writers and stuff too, like Douglas Adams, who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Hunter S. Thompson are probably my two biggest influences from like writing, and I try to bring some of that to my music as well.
What do you believe has changed the most in your music over the years?
Adding simplicity. I think when you first start off, you want to do it and say it all, but you know that's not possible. You have to go through the motions. You have to put the time in, and in doing so, you sort of realize that sometimes like saying less is more. Like Dom Kennedy has a line where it's like you don't want to go between the legs before you even know to dribble.
Yeah,
something like that. And I think that's a really good piece of advice.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned since you've been making music?
You know, don't stress. Don't stress too much. You know, if you can't really force your success or your perception of yourself onto other people. Like there's a saying, it's like you can't be a prophet in your hometown. And I grew up in San Francisco and affluent, predominantly white neighborhood. And when I decided I wanted to be a rapper and was telling everybody I wanted to be a rapper, most people laughed in my face and thought it was fucking stupid. And now I get a lot of support and a lot of love from my community there. And that took a long time to gain, you know, and to get there.
Yeah.
So you can't just because you feel dope doesn't mean everybody else is gonna think you're dope, and you can't really do anything to change that except for put the time in and like you know, show your stuff.
Yeah. Now I get you on that, and I can understand. I feel like everybody kind of has everybody kind of goes through that in a different way. Some people, of course, have support from the jump, and everybody's like, "Oh, okay." Especially if you come from like a musical background, but
Totally.
like,
I mean,
my parents don't really understand what I do and interviewing. Like, this shit is complete left field.
My parents had money, but they won't give me any of it for music.
For my final question, I want to ask you, what advice would you give to the younger you?
Oh, man. I think I would have told him, like, bro, a lot of this stuff is pay to play, and that's just the world we live in these days. So don't get too disheartened about it. There's a lot of scammers out there trying to make money off of artists and creatives, and you know, you have to navigate the minefield, but also just don't get discouraged by it. Don't give up.
I got you. Is there anything that you want to address or say before you get out of here?
Yeah, fuck Kanye.
Why you feel like that?
And I wish that last song, what was it? Someday We'll All Be Free. I wish that song wasn't so good. You know, like, you know, fuck Hitler, dude. And
yeah.
I just, I'm not even that Jewish, but like, I am Jewish, and you know, I used to listen to all of his shit growing up, and he was one of my big inspirations, and it sucks to have your perception changed about your idols and stuff, which I think inevitably does. You know, it's that Batman quote where it's like you either die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain.
Yeah.
And he became the villain, dude.
Nah, he definitely had.
But I love him still, you know, and I understand kind of what he was going for with like the messianic complex and like being like, I love everybody, but you know.
Yeah. Took it too far.
Took it too far. He needs a new PR guy. If you need somebody, let me know.
I appreciate you pulling up. Definitely dope interview on the way.
Thank you, bro.
Caution Tape project is out everywhere. Apple Music, Spotify, all streaming platforms. Videos coming soon. Shows coming soon. Be on the lookout. Give them your Instagram so they know where to follow you at one more time.
Where's Aaron? Fuck Where's Aaron, or at the infamous Gallagher if you want the personal stuff.
I appreciate you pulling up. Dope interview on the way. You locked in with the Innovators. You already know what it is.
Thank you, bro.